Hey, Amy. Sorry, I'm going
Hi.
to be recording. Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Also good. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with us. We really, really appreciate you and appreciate your time and effort. So I'm slowly adding a bunch of people we have here. So they're all international students who are dying to know how to get into American universities.
Mhm.
Everybody, hi. If you can hear us well, please message. You can write anything in the chat box. Just say that you hear us and you see us well. We have Amy here, who is a student in Caltech University. And it's extremely, extremely exciting to us that she agreed to have this conversation with us and give us some tips on how to apply to this university, maybe what can we do different, and just give us some guidance. So thank you, Amy, and welcome.
And thank you very much for the intro. Do we have the expected number of people, or should we wait a little longer?
I think we can gradually start. So this meeting is going to be recorded. So we're going to send it to all of our students. It's around 35 people. So they will be able to listen to all your advice and your stories. So that's no problem. But I think not everybody will be able to join at the moment.
Okay, sounds good. Well, hi, everyone. I'm so excited to speak with you all today. My name is Amy, as said, and forgive my voice. I'm still slightly congested. It's been cold. And so, yeah, I'm very excited that you guys are all looking into Caltech. So as some background, I actually graduated Caltech this year in June. And
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. So before Caltech and in my early high school years, I didn't know much about the school. I only heard about it from one of my competition math tutors. And most people at my school haven't heard about it either, since it's so small. But then once you really research into it, you find out it's so unique and like why it's such a top school. And so that also means it's very competitive. So I actually was recruited by a basketball coach. And so this didn't really give me an advantage per se, like at other schools, because they still require you to meet the minimum standards of academics and stuff. But maybe the only help it does is like teach you more about the school. For example, like they help you meet the basketball team and then you get more activities. But otherwise, it's not really much help. And
Okay.
so, and so it was cool though, because it definitely encouraged me to look more into Caltech myself and see if I did qualify. So like before the college application process, I wasn't exactly aiming for a top 10 US university. It was more like I was just trying my best, doing what I love, which is like math and science, the math competitions. And since I am rather ambitious and studious, then I like score pretty well. And so just by doing what I love and what I strive for, then I was able to make it to a certain level that then would reach these schools. So I know a lot of people have pressure on them right now to do everything for college, but you kind of just do what's your best and makes you happy, and then eventually you can get to whatever you strive for. Of course, it is more helpful if you know ahead of time what your kind of goal is.
Since we're, we already started talking about universities, just wondering, so how many universities were you applying to? Which universities were you considering to apply to? And, how many did you get into?
Yeah, so I'd say that I didn't have like a set number in mind. I know that people applied to like 11 universities or like a lot more than I did. So in total, I applied to 6. So I applied to like Colorado School of Mines, which is my like state school, the best STEM school in my state, and then Berkeley, Caltech, and then also Princeton and Harvard. So that's 5 actually.
Okay. Did you get into any of the universities that you were selecting offer from?
6th one's Stanford, but yeah. So I got into Caltech, Colorado School of Mines, and Berkeley, and then I got waitlisted at Princeton and Harvard. So
That's amazing.
thank you. So Harvard and Princeton, they're on the East Coast, and I think I preferred California. And the big draw for me was being able to play basketball there, because like it's so cool to be able to say you can play a collegiate sport. And then I think Caltech, why I'm so excited, like you guys are all looking into it, is because it's just so unique that I felt like I couldn't pass up the opportunity of having that less than 1,000 undergrad, that 3-to-1 student to faculty ratio, like the immense number of research opportunities that are there. And because of the small school, you get a very tight-knit network. And then like as we all know nowadays, networking is everything. And it's also a lot of fun, because even though the academics are super tough, by having that tight-knit community, you don't feel like you're going through it alone, and it's more collaborative versus competitive.
That's an interesting comparison. More collaborative than competitive. Do you think it's different in maybe, top selective universities? Maybe it would have been different in Harvard or Princeton?
Like the academics itself, ever? Yeah, for sure. So Caltech academics are probably one of the toughest in the country, if not the world. So that's because like of all the requirements, as you can see, like for example, I took 11 AP classes, and I got at the time of the application, I got 7 5s, and none of those count for any like level up or credit. And that's just because Caltech classes from day one, they just start at a level higher, so they expect you to already have those. Whereas like Harvard and Princeton, even Stanford, you get some form of credit for those AP classes.
Okay. What would you say was the hardest part of the application process for you?
Probably essays, just because like you can go in so many directions with those open-ended prompts, and it's about really like looking deep into yourself to see what you want to portray that's true to yourself, but that also of course gives you an edge, right? Because there's so many applications. And so the way I approached that was like I just looked at the prompts like very early, probably in the summer, and just like no matter what I'm doing, I just kind of let it process in the back of my mind. And like maybe if I'm on a hike, I'm like, oh wow, like I really like hiking, maybe I can turn this into something. Shows like I don't know, I like the struggle, and then like seeing the beautiful view, something like that. And just giving yourself more time than you need. And because even after you write something on paper, like you go through some reviews, which definitely should be done, and then you realize that it could be written in a much better way, or you might need to change topics.
So how long in advance were you already thinking about your common application essays? Like 6 months in advance?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Granted, I did submit my application like for the early
decision?
Not early decision, early application, I think. Or early action, yes. Yeah. And so I'm not like binded by early decision, but yeah, so I submitted it for that, and then it was like early in the summer months that I started thinking.
But you could submit only one application for early action, right? Only to one university.
Early action, you can actually submit multiple, but early decision, you can only submit one, because the difference for the latter, the second one, is that if you get into that university, supposedly you're binded, so it's more stakes.
Okay, so you applied everywhere you applied to early action, right?
Yeah, so I think Caltech was the only one that was early action, and then the other was were regular decision, which applications were like I think in December.
Do you think applying for early action boosted your chances of getting accepted? What do you think?
Yeah, so I see like different views on this. In my opinion, I think it does help, because it's like you're the first wave of people, right? And so people are already getting those acceptances, and then once regular decision comes around, some spots have already been filled. And so if you think about it as like a proportion standpoint, like the proportion's smaller.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Were you taking the SAT test? Did you take it?
Yeah, I took the SAT and ACT actually. I took them, just in case, And so I took them my junior year. in the spring. So yeah, that's kind of like the recommended time. You want to get your test all knocked out of the way before the summer, ideally, because then first of all, you get to enjoy your summer a little more because those tests are stressful. And then you can just focus on application, because doing two at once is like just pretty difficult.
Yeah. So for a lot of international students, applying to American University just got so much more appealing just because they waived SAT scores. So now it's kind of like optional to submit. What would you say to this? Would you still recommend to take the test even though it's optional? Or what would you say?
Yeah, so I think the waiving the standardized testing is really interesting. My perspective, it's just like why I took both the SAT and ACT, is that doing anything extra can give you an edge, because if you think about two applicants that are the exact same in everything, except for one has done the SAT, one has not, then like it's probably going to be with the SAT. And at a school that's so competitive like Caltech, like basically you just want to layer on anything you can that can give you an edge. And taking that test will also show your commitment to show like, oh, okay, I did work hard, I did put in the effort, and then this is the kind of score, this is my ability. But of course, like if you're not in a situation where you can aptly prepare to get a good enough score, or like you don't have the means to really take the test, then like I think you don't have to worry about it too much.
Okay. If I may ask, how did you score? How high did you score?
Yeah, so on the SAT, I took like the new version, so it's out of 1600. I got 1520, and then the ACT, I got 35.
Out of 36, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What would be your main advice? Because we do have a lot of students who are going to study for SATs, not ACT, but SAT. What would you say, like maybe your main advice? How far in advance should you start preparing for it? Should you do it alone? Should you get a tutor? What would you say?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Sorry. And it varies for everyone because we all have different like studying methods are better for us. But so what I did is that, like, I think the summer before my junior year, my third year of high school, I went to like a few SAT prep classes, and I got like a few SAT prep books, kind of like a preliminary start, but I didn't really start like studying very officially. To be honest, I don't know if those classes were that helpful, because then it was like 6 months later when I actually started preparing on my own. What I found really helpful is that I think like it was like Khan Academy and other online platforms that I use. I basically just kind of ignored my SAT prep book, and then I kind of set a schedule of like every day I do like a couple practice rounds, and then I just make sure to like each time review everything I did, like whether it was right or wrong, read the explanations, because even if I got something right, like there could be a much better solution and might have not gotten right for the right reasons. And so it was just making sure to be really diligent on doing that review, because that's what's going to improve yourself incrementally day by day. And so my advice is just make it a daily thing. So like your brain is always kind of in that zone of improving, and you're processing while you sleep, right? It's definitely not something cramped for. And I took multiple practice tests. So probably like just a couple on the weekends. And I saw like on my last practice test, my score was like where I wanted. And then I was like, okay, so
it's time to
ready.
take.
Yeah. Granted, I did schedule it like before I knew that I was ready, but that's kind of how I planned like my studying timeline.
Okay. Were you taking, so you just took it once, right?
Yes, I took both exams only once each.
Okay. Oh, so lucky, because some students really are taking so many times, before they can get to the right score. It's very stressful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. I have so many friends who took it many, many times. And so my perspective is just like, act like the first time is the only time you have. Don't like kind of have the mindset of like, oh, I have as many tries as I want technically, because like maybe psychologically you're like, oh, I don't have to try as hard. But like on the test, I'm kind of running on adrenaline, just like, okay, I'm going to go, like, this is the only chance, I'm going to just crush it, have the confidence too. And like, you're more likely to do well. And then even if you don't, you're like, okay, well, that was the best try I had. And so maybe it was just a bad day. And then you can go ahead and do a second one if needed.
Okay, that's actually really good advice. So basically, take it as like you're gonna do it only once. You're gonna give it all, and if you can't,
Yeah.
well, then maybe you can redo it. But it's a really nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
You're also saying that like you were hiking and thinking about, what story will you put as your personal statement? Kind of want to ask you about that if it's not too personal. What story
yeah.
did you choose to write as your personal statement? And
Yeah,
how
no
did you
problem.
select it?
Okay, yeah, of course. So I use the Common application, and it has like that selection option of prompts. I think mine was like, what story is like kind of like your story, and like why is it meaningful to you?
Mhm.
And I think a big part of what affected me and part of like why I applied to Caltech is my love for math, and it's fitting too because it's STEM school. So basically how I arrived at it is like because I knew this like kind of affected me most out of each of the other things, whether there's like sports or like academics, and like math competition was such a big part of my life. I knew I wanted to use this topic, but like make it have more like personality to it, since like I have all these stats on my academic application that says like, oh, at this score, this competition, like they can tell I have the passion and ability, but they don't know how it got there and like whether that really affects who I am. And so my story was about how when I went to my first session with like my competition math tutor, my tutor showed me multiple ways to prove the Pythagorean theorem. I started that was as a hook in my essay, and I was like, wow, this is just amazing. It's beautiful. Like math isn't just about memorizing formulas. So I got super excited about it, and then started doing more math competitions, and this increased my own like confidence in myself too, because like in school, like there's a conflict between being an athlete and then like good at math, because like you're like, oh, like you're a nerd, right? And so I put that kind of vulnerability in my essay too, and showed that like because I was doing what I loved and I did well in it, then it increased my confidence, and that I'm ready to show people what it means to be like a quote unquote cool nerd.
That's okay. So that seems like a really interesting, kind of like a unique topic to combine, right? So like the math and athlete part in you. Were you also talking about maybe like your achievements in your personal statement, or you left it only for the common application section, so just for honors and activities section? So you just focus like on your values, on your story in your essay, or did you put some achievements in your essay?
Yeah, I didn't put achievements in my essay at all, because yeah, they're showed out of the parts of the application. Like, yeah, I thought it might be good to emphasize it, but like I think the point of the essay just should really be true to yourself, and we're not just all numbers. And so by speaking in a more personable way, I think that's much more compelling than if you make it seem in any way like you're just trying to make another boost.
Okay. Well, if we're talking about Caltech, why do you think you made like the perfect fit for Caltech? Why do you think they accepted you out of like thousands of people who were applying that year?
Okay. Yeah, interesting. So as we all know, like college is kind of a shot in the dark sometimes, especially to these top universities. They only have a certain number of people they can accept. So just because you didn't get it doesn't mean you weren't qualified or you weren't the perfect person. It just means like it wasn't the right time, or like maybe someone was super close to you in like stats and stuff, but you're just like a little off, or there are many factors. But the reason why I think I got accepted was first of all, like through my passion for math and science, like they can see it through like those math competitions. And also a big factor was I attended this very rigorous summer math program in Boston for 6 weeks. That was the summer before my junior year. So that was like incredibly tough. And we stayed up like all day and like sometimes through the night, very collaborative, working on these really tough number theory problems. And like by kind of describing that and how much I value that experience, showed them like, oh, this girl is going to do well at Caltech because that's exactly what we do. That's exactly the kind of mindset and passion for doing something that's hard, but with other people, that we want to see cultivated in a culture. And like that, along with like my high stats, they knew that I could succeed in somewhere this type of Caltech. And I think like that really helped them make the decision, because that's something that probably other applicants don't have.
I know it's a very big and kind of like it's a hard part of the process for international students, especially to select the right university for you, because there are so many. They have different values, different ideologies, different majors. It's really hard to really choose the one that really fits you. Would you have like any maybe advice on how to select the right one for you, how to really navigate through the website to distill the right information about about the university for you? How do you select the right fit?
So to start, maybe like decide what your interests are, like whether it's liberal arts or STEM, because that can inform like which schools you want to look at, because some schools are like top in those, like Caltech, this and STEM, right, and MIT. And then other liberal arts colleges, like they're very good like, on the East Coast. And so to decide like what your fit is, I think like doing a preliminary like look at the website, see like kind of what majors are offered, like what the campus is like, what the environment's like, how big and how small, depending on what kind of feel you want. And then like other things like extracurriculars and kind of opportunities that you want to do in college. Like, because if you want to do research, for example, you better make sure like they have those opportunities and the support they have for students like post college, like career wise. And then what's really helpful is just, if you can, that who goes to that school, because you can only get so much from a website. And that's how I got to know Caltech a lot better, is from speaking with the students and kind of understanding their everyday culture. And then also YouTube videos are helpful, because like they're a lot more candid, right? It's from the student's perspective. They may say things that like you just can't find, and you'll be like, wow, like the website makes it look so nice, but in reality, the school, there are some like things that I wouldn't like, for example. So I think it's like that process, and starting early, and then making like kind of 3 tiers of choices, kind of like a reach. So like Caltech is like a reach for everyone. And so, and then like a middle. So like for me, that was UC Berkeley, like a kind of school you're like be happy at, but still kind of like pretty high level. And then like kind of a safety. So a school that you think you're like guaranteed to get into. But all 3 of those have to be schools that you're going to be happy going to.
Yeah, that definitely absolutely makes sense, because even if you get into a safety one, you still want to be happy about studying there, right? I wonder, it's really funny that you say like that UC Berkeley is your target university, because it's such a prestigious, amazing school to study at. But
yeah, sorry, it's different for everyone. That's just like the perspective I took, because I saw that my stats like kind of already match and stuff. So
no worries. I mean, it's an amazing school, honestly. I was wondering, were you in touch with the admission committee before you applied? Were you, corresponding with them? Did you attend some information session? Maybe went on a tour there, or did you just apply?
So I actually didn't do any of that. Like Caltech, actually, they don't really track that as much as other schools. Like as what I see. So other schools, they might track like your interest in that way, but Caltech doesn't really care, to be frank. They only like informational or like tours, like what I got from interacting with my basketball coach, the one who recruited me, because she like flew me out to the school, and then like I spent a night there.
So basically, did you get the athlete scholarship because you were recruited?
No, so no, so yeah, I think I like touched a little bit about this like in the beginning, but like yeah, being recruited for sports really does no impact. There are no scholarships at all to Caltech, whether it's academic or sports. Again, like they're kind of like, oh, like you should be wanting to come here, right? And there's no reason that like, oh, we would want you like so badly that we would give you any money. And like sports aren't that big a thing at Caltech or D3, so there are no scholarships for that. And so it's more about like you just still meeting the qualifications, and for me, like they still evaluated me like as any other applicant, but maybe they had a little more information about me from like basketball coach, like maybe speaking with the admissions office, but it's not like, there's no really like advantage because if you're like a superstar athlete and then like you can't get through the school, then you probably can't do well in sports either. And so they're like, school first.
Does it offer need-based scholarship? Does it? Caltech?
Yes. So so need-based is offered. Financially.
So as soon as you are accepted, if you like the salary, the income of the family is below certain threshold, your tuition will be taken care of. Is this correct?
I believe so. I believe you get a package after like you get accepted.
So many opportunities in the US to get the quality education. Speaking of Caltech, since you already graduated there, what kind of resources are there for maybe graduates? Maybe some job opportunities, anything. How is Caltech interested in promoting, helping their graduates getting a job, career, and so on?
Yeah, Caltech is a research institution. So that means that a lot of the opportunities are pushed into the research side. So if you want to go to grad school, that's a big advantage since like, again, with a low student faculty ratio, you can work in a lab like pretty much in freshman year. And so building that relationship with your mentor is super helpful because then your mentor and then either other professors can write letters of rec. And I heard that that's the biggest thing in your grad application. And so I didn't pursue grad school, but that's definitely like a ton of support into that area. And then as far as career wise, there are career fairs, I think 2 every year. And so, and also conferences like the Women in STEM conference and the like Grace Hopper conference, which are huge. That Caltech actually, yes, that Caltech will send you to basically like pay for like ticket and like everything. And so those are really, really helpful as well because I have many friends who got jobs through there. Otherwise, there's an alumni portal that you can join and then you can be paired up with a mentor as early as you want and just like speak to that Caltech alum about their experiences and get any advice and connections through that. So yeah, there are a lot of ways. For me personally, I think I did a lot of cold applying and also like trying at the career fairs. I think like in general, it really helps to have like Caltech on your resume. And then once I have like the interview or something, then I can go to the career center and then do practice interviews and stuff like that. And then I think the biggest support in terms of career wise, it would be for the CS majors, computer science, because computer science is booming right now and Caltech's pretty good at it.
And what was your major?
Chemical engineering.
Oh, that's great. And how do you think, what was the most significant part of your application? Like, was it essays or is it just great scores, really challenging courses, AP classes? What do you think made the biggest contribution to your application?
Yeah, good question. I actually just recently made a YouTube video about this. And so there's not one component that's the biggest because Caltech takes a holistic view of each application. But what your application and all the pieces have to show together is this theme of like why they want you. And that's like your passion for math and science and just being like also a good person because like Caltech has an honor code, which means that all our tests are take home, every single one of them. And we're just trusted to do that on our own time and like not cheat, right? And so I think they want to see our pursuit and genuine interest in math and science. And so that's shown through my scores, like my stats and grades, standardized testing, math competitions. They're kind of a minimum baseline threshold that you need to meet for them to be like, okay, you can even survive at Caltech. And then on top of that, then you have like your extracurriculars, and they show, okay, you're not just doing it for the numbers, you actually enjoy this. And then your essays to show like, okay, you're a cool person, you actually like I can see you as a person rather than just numbers, and that you'll like make a good contribution to our community. And so yeah, it's just all those together.
And what was your extracurricular activities? Like, can you list like top 3 that you think was the most significant, most impressive? to the admissions officers?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I think the most impressive would be like the math competitions or like the math camp. So using your summers very effectively is important. And then I was also the president of Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society. And so that kind of relates to that math competition piece. But because I was president, I initiated many new things to really grow the math competition and interest at my school. And so leadership is very helpful too, because Caltech wants to see that you're not only helping yourself with your interests, but like you're helping to other people, because it's a very collaborative school. And so yeah, being president of that club is a big plus.
Cool. And do you think that the knowledge that you got from studying at Caltech was applicable to the real world? And maybe how could you apply it? Was it helpful, like at your new job after graduating?
Yeah, that's everyone's hope, right? That college pays off. But so Caltech is super theoretical, and I probably wouldn't be able to say that I use anything specifically from my classes in my everyday life. But the thing I really gain is that problem solving skill and the ability to like have a problem that I just have no idea about, but I'm not scared by it. I'm like kind of excited by it. And I know how to approach it, even though I don't know how to do that, if that makes sense. And then having that collaborative spirit is very helpful. And so those are the things I applied to my new job now.
Great.
I was wondering, what was making your process maybe less stressful, or how, like looking back, how can you make the application process less stressful for students? What would your advice?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the person that just like does a ton of research in the beginning and like kind of set me up to be aware of everything I need to do, so I minimize stress. And so yeah, I think the biggest advice would just be to like start early, and then get your like family or your loved ones kind of like on board with what you're doing, so they understand like, okay, like you're going on a big journey here, like you need time to study on your own, but they'll also be there to support you to like read your essays or like just be there for any questions you might have. Because like I think in anything in life that's difficult, it's like really the people around you that make it better and easier.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Who are you asking to proofread your essays?
Yeah, so my parents are from China, so their English isn't the best, but they at least could like look at the content. Main proofreaders I used were like my AP literature and AP language teachers in high school, because yeah, there's amazing like with how to write it better. But then also my college, the high school college admissions counselor, because like she's gone through this process, right? So she knows like what the college admissions like look for. And so it's like having combination of those two for like kind of content and style and like combination.
When you were getting all these accomplishments, different activities, honors, were you at the same time like having a normal life? Because it seems like it's so much to do, right? You're preparing for the tests, you're also trying to get all A's in all your exams, you're trying to, you know, go to computer like a science camp and everything. It's just so much. How were you like really, I don't know, trying to stay sane in all of this?
Yeah, that's a funny question. So I think that I'm relatively good at time management. So I was indeed like on the tennis team varsity too. And so that's like 2-hour practices every day. And at the same time, like doing these things. But yeah, I think it's a matter of just like planning your time, because if you kind of think about it, like there are many hours in a day that like if we use effectively, if we don't like spend time kind of like, nowadays it's even harder than when I was in high school with like social media, right? And but if you kind of just like minimize time spent on things that aren't good to you, then you can just like make time for things. And I think like I really go with the perspective that if it matters enough to you, you'll find time for it. If you didn't find time for it, then like it probably didn't matter enough to you. And so like to stay sane, to answer your question, through doing all of these activities, it's making sure that what I was doing, I still enjoyed. It wasn't just for college. And that like the competitions, the extracurriculars, I enjoyed them in the process. So that also shows that what I'm pursuing does suit me, because if these are the things I need to do in order to get there, then that destination will probably be enjoyable to me too. And it's about knowing that like life isn't always about pursuing something, but like enjoying what the pursuit, like in the process. And then I did also find time to hang out with friends. I'm kind of that person who has like FOMO, like fear of missing out. So I did like activities like go to football games and stuff. And I just blocked that time out in my calendar. I'm like, okay, that's the time that I'm not going to study. And if, for example, if some fun thing was at the end of the weekend, I'm like, okay, like when I'm studying, this is my fun. So I can just work hard now and like have fun later.
So it's not just putting all the effort just for the university, but it's doing it for yourself because you enjoy the activities that you were doing.
Yeah, because university, like the process, looking at the application, I kind of want to see if you're fit for them too. And then you see if they're fit for you. It's like a two-way street. So if the things you're doing like look super good to them, but then you didn't enjoy them, once you get in and go to school, like you might not really enjoy where you're at because they thought you were somewhere else.
That makes sense. That's a really good takeaway from this conversation, actually, because some people are just pursuing just to get some check box, like, yes, I did this, just to list it on your honors or application, like activity section, but it's not quite what you really enjoy or really represents you.
For sure.
It's a really fine line. I want to open the floor for any other people who would like to ask any questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comment box. Maybe, we did not cover everything, so feel free. We just have one question so far, but I'm not sure if you can respond to it. Have you taken GRE or GMAT tests?
I've taken the GMAT.
Okay. Do you have any, comments or advice about taking the GMAT test or how you can do it better?
Sure. Yeah. So I took GMAT because I applied to deferred MBA programs. And I got 2 acceptances actually. So I did decent. And so the GMAT, like, it's a very interesting and different form of a test because you think like, for example, the math section is testing math, but it's more testing like your logic and how like carefully you can think through the details. And so similarly to my advice for SAT, ACT, it's about like studying pretty periodically, like every day, and like reviewing as much as you can. And I'd recommend taking a practice test as soon as possible just to see what your baseline is and like seeing where your holes are. Just gain awareness and making a timeline. And then I think GMAT especially practice because there's so many variations and kind of patterns that show up over time that you can see.
Have you been preparing with the tutor or just on your own?
Just on my own.
And how long did it take you to get to your desired score?
So I think I studied for maybe like 7 weeks total. I had like a break in between for like the holidays, but I kind of put on my calendar like an hour every morning, which like I just dedicated for GMAT. Sometimes I did more because more never hurts. And then I took like, I think a total of like 4 mock exams. So definitely more mock exams for the GMAT. And those were like on weekends, but making sure I didn't burn out like the last week or so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I think we have, if you don't mind, so we have 2 more questions coming in from the audience. So the first one is, what was your motivation to study there? I assume there, meaning in Caltech. Like, why did you select specifically that university?
So I touched a little bit about this, but Caltech is just super unique because of its small size. I don't know if you guys know, but like they have a house system too, like in Hogwarts, Harry Potter, where like there are 8 houses, like all different personalities, and like I thought that was just super fun. And the vibe I got was that like even though it's super tough, it's super rewarding too, because you're really setting yourself up to be like one of the best scientists and like problem solvers in the country. And that's like why people hire Caltech students, because they know they can solve those tough problems, since we work really hard. We stay up and work really hard through this very tough problems that you can't do on your own. And then I like how it was collaborative too versus competitive, because everything's just worse if like the academics are hard and like you're also stressed like alone, but everyone's doing it together, so it doesn't feel that bad. And then the research opportunities was something I couldn't pass up as well. And so and then basketball, of course, I think, and that was really cool. Like no matter what sport, because it's like a very small school, you're probably going to be able to do a college sport.
Actually, the other question is kind of related to opportunities after graduation. So our student is asking, what are you planning to do now after graduating, or maybe you're already working? If so, where after graduating from such a great university?
Yeah, there are many opportunities, and for me as a chemical engineer, I chose it because I was like interested in many things, and I did an internship in biotechnology the last summer, but then I realized like there wasn't that much growth to stay in an engineer position. And so right now I'm actually working full-time in a consulting position. So I'm a consultant at a firm in LA. And yeah, the reason I chose this and kind of like strayed away from science specifically is because in consulting, like you get to work on many different projects. Their timelines like pretty short, and they're like jumping from like problem to problem, like kind of having to work my mind different ways. And I like working with other people, so a lot of that interaction is helpful. I think like can really brush up on my soft skills, and I think I see consulting as a way for me to go into management at a science and tech company later on after my MBA.
Oh, well, that sounds like a really good plan. So
thank you. I hope so.
I guess the last thing I would like to ask you is maybe what would be the main advice you can give to international students? I know you are not an international student, but maybe what would you say to them? Maybe some last words like motivate them, to go harder, to like not give up on their dreams to study in the US and so on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've had many international friends at Caltech, and Caltech, I think they just have an abnormally large proportion of international students. Like we love international students because you guys all bring a very diverse perspective, and I think everyone's just super cool and nice. And so like don't worry too much if you're striving for Caltech specifically. But like my friends there, they really love the US environment, and they just find like this provides so much opportunity, and it's a lot of fun, and especially like getting to know different people from all over the world. And so like if you do go to US university, like you won't regret it. You'll have an amazing time. And that also means that by knowing how much you'll enjoy it and how many opportunities and fun you get from the college experience in the US, like that's a bigger motivator for you to like work hard at the end of the day. Like even though the process, of course, you should enjoy that too, but to kind of have that in your mind, like that delayed gratification of, okay, like once I get there, then like everything's going to be worth it. And the hours I put in now, like little by little, it's all going to add up, because I don't know if you've seen like this graph, but basically the idea is like, increasing like 1% per day or something. And it's like exponential. And then like by the end, you're like, how did I get there? It's like that little work you do every day. And it's to don't get lost in being like stressed about the work and studying you do have to put in, but just to know that it's all doing something. Everything that's like hard work is all gonna like contribute to you in some way. Even if you don't get in, like you're gonna have improved your own human capital and improve your skills that will make you just more successful in the future either way. And so in general, just like work hard, enjoy the process, and you'll do well with a great attitude and high aspirations.
Thank you so much. That was honestly great advice. But the one I really remember so far is that whatever you do, you don't do for the university. You do it for yourself. You need to enjoy it. That is definitely for sure.
Yeah, don't worry too much about it. It's not the end all be all.
No, that's true. I guess we're going to be finishing up. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. Honestly, I think it was really helpful. I've been recording everything. I'll just send it to everyone who was not able to attend it today. But it just means so much that you were able to find this hour during the day to spend it with international students and give them some motivation. So thank you so much. I hope
Yeah,
everyone
of course.
enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak here. This is very enjoyable for me too. And I hope, yeah, this was helpful to all of you. And then keep in mind, like, if you do have any questions, like, feel free to reach out. I think Regina has my email. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have access, if you can see on YouTube, like, I made some YouTube vlogs, and like, I think they're really helpful to help you understand the school on a deeper level and give you an edge when you're writing your essays.
Yeah, we'll share it in the chat. So everybody, if they want to, they will definitely reach out to you, and you can send a link to your YouTube so they will check it out.
Okay, cool.
But thank you so much, Amy. I mean, have a good day, and maybe we'll be in touch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. Have a very good rest of your day.
Thank you, Amy. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.